Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be doing a driving comparison with the Mazda CX-90 and the Volkswagen Atlas. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Volkswagen here in Orem, Utah, and the Mazda here in Orem, Utah for giving me some time with both of these vehicles. I'm going to include a link to both of their websites in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Well, let's talk about visibility in the CX-90 before we set off. Here's visibility of the hood, and hopefully you can now see the heads-up display. Both the mirrors do have blind spot monitoring throughout the rest of the rear. And, well, let us set off in the CX-90. I'm setting off in this one first because this was, the Atlas was just barely released onto market, whereas this has been out for a little bit. So we'll do, even though this is like a brand new vehicle for 24, we're going to do the old dog in the segment, right? And then we'll do the new one. Even though they're both brand new. First setting off in the Mazda, what I'm noticing is ride quality is really good. The seats, they're a little bit on the firmer side, but they're comfortable. It's like a comfortable firm. I really like them. I like seats like this because they feel sturdy. And the thing that's nice about seats like this is they hold, like, you can tell these seats will hold up well over time, which I think is a big plus. Now, I also really like the steering wheel. The feel of it, it's just got really good grips, and it's just a nice feel overall. Yeah, ride quality is pretty good. It'd be interesting to kind of compare the ride quality between both of them. So continuing along in the CX-90, really good torque out of the engine, really good torque. Not off-road mode, there we go, sport mode. Pop it into the sport mode. I will say, you can tell this is kind of tuned to be sportier. You can tell with the steering, with the suspension and handling as well. It's just got this like sharpness to it, is the best way for me to describe it. And that being said, let's get in our acceleration here. Woo, torque! Man, is that quick. It's this inline six. It's got some power, and this is not even the high output version, right? This is the standard version. And then obviously they've got the plug-in hybrid, but that's a 4-cylinder. So, to kind of sum things up here with the CX-90 before we hop into the Atlas, I've driven the CX-90 quite a bit now at this point, and it's got a lot of the fun stuff that you associate with Mazda. It's got good steering, it's got good handling. It still rides well. Really, I like the exterior design. Initially, I was kind of like, not sure, but the design's grown on me. So I really like the exterior design now. And interior is amazing. Like, the fit and finish is great. The material use, again, for more of like an entry-level package, I think this is really good stuff. It feels very well built. Like, this is gonna last a long time. Ooh, look at those wheels on that one, by the way. That's cool. And so, yeah, I think overall they've done a really good job with the overall setup here with the CX-90. And I think the biggest like draw with this is honestly the powertrain. I should park over there. Having an inline six in this segment and a turbocharged inline six that is not only most likely going to end up being very reliable, again, made by Mazda, but I mean, it's just the power and the torque and everything you get out of this. It just really sets this apart from the competition. But let's go check out the Atlas. Well, let's quickly talk about visibility here in the Atlas before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood. Both of the mirrors do a blind spot monitoring throughout the rest of the rear. I will say this feels like a more open cabin. I kind of mentioned that in the walk around. The Atlas interior space, it feels a bit bigger than the CX-90. And the seats also kind of feel wider. I guess that the CX-90, better make sure you take care of your health, but here in the Volkswagen Atlas, if you eat a few too many cheeseburgers, you'll still be able to fit in here. Sorry, let me adjust this a little bit. Ride quality, this is interesting. So the Mazda had like a sharpness to it. This is not trying to be sporty like the Mazda. I'd say it might be a little bit smoother than the Mazda, except over bumps. I feel like the Mazda handled those a little bit better. But you can tell the steering and everything, it's not as, again, it's not as sharp as the Mazda. a little bit more pulled back. But again, ultimately this is a three-row SUV. It's not about sportiness, right? It's about comfort, and this does have comfort, so I think that's great. It's interesting to see the suspension difference, but they're both pretty typical for the segment, honestly. Now the next thing is, yeah, let's see, actually I want to see the steering again. Yes, way lighter, and I wouldn't say it's just doesn't feel as sharp. But again, this feels more like a regular SUV. I will say this turbocharged four-cylinder is quite impressive. I think this might be probably the, like, in terms of like turbocharged four-cylinders, this might be the one that can keep up with that inline six that the Mazda has, which I think just shows how impressive this powertrain is. So I see that as a big plus. And oh, this guy's making a U-turn with a semi-truck. Good gravy. Don't okay, there we go. Look at that. What a pro. What a pro. But yeah, I feel like this is just a really solid powertrain here. And so I'll kind of like do another loop so we can actually get like a real acceleration, or actually I might be able to get one once the semi-truck turns in here. Yeah, so I'll get one here and then I'll get another one up in a second. Yeah, it moves. It's got like a good shove, that's for sure. It doesn't feel quite as torquey as the Mazda. I mean, you look at the torque figures, it makes sense, but I mean, it gets up and it moves, and I like the sound it makes. I know some of you might be, and you got like turbo blow off too. It's fun. It's a fun powertrain. So some things up here with this comparison when it comes to exterior styling, again, kind of two different design philosophies, right? The Mazda's kind of this like smooth design, whereas this has got that more boxy kind of rugged type design. So you're gonna kind of, you know, lean towards one side or the other. And then when it comes to interiors, I'm actually really surprised. Like, this is a really nice interior for a Volkswagen. Like, the fit and finish is really good. The Mazda's got really good fit and finish too. But again, I think this interior kind of feels more like it's trying to be a modern interior, whereas the Mazda interior feels like it's more trying to be a luxury based interior. So you got two different philosophies there. And then when it comes to the drive, I do prefer the Mazda's engine, right? More torque, more power, and you feel it. But this is very strong for a four-cylinder turbocharged engine. So I think they did a great job with that. And with the drive, again, the Mazda's kind of more sporty leaning, whereas this is more luxury leaning, right? More about comfort rather than, you know, being, you know, the crazy, you know, the sharpest handling. And so what I'd have to say, and this is kind of, I feel like this is pretty accurate, is the Atlas, it seems like it might be a slightly better three-row crossover in the sense that it's more spacious. The seats are accommodating for larger people. So I feel like it might do better on that front. The Mazda, though, I think it does better on the experience side of things. I think the driving experience is better. And then on top of the driving experience being a little bit better, it just feels, again, more luxury. It feels like a little bit more, like, this feels like it's well built. The Mazda feels like it's well crafted. I hope that kind of distinction makes sense. But let me know which one you like. Do you like the Atlas more, or do you like the CX-90 more? I think that there's big benefits and, you know, some downsides to both of them. But let me know your thoughts.